Hello, folks. It's Saturday. I'm a little late on tools that I'm using this week. Just got to the farmer's market and brought Sherry and I a nice breakfast back. And I'm helping a friend out, Ryan, who is very interested in how we can help our veterans who suffer PTSD, depression, lots of other issues. Um, but not only with suicide prevention, but he's had a mission for really a little while on how to solve the active shooter problem. And so this is an example of work that we're doing together. This seems like a good cause to me. He's a good person and he's very passionate about the mission. So I wanted to take you through the process that I went through this morning over coffee over the last few hours to create a prototype that is architecturally sound, which is one of the issues with vibe coding, is a lot of people know how to write the initial prompts, but they don't understand the architecture. So just like any engineering task, everything that we know about engineering still applies. Just because we can generate code more quickly doesn't mean that we should. So I'm going to take you through a process that I went through for Ryan. This is to help him. And by the way, I'll post a link to his organization and his cause if that's something he wants me to do, and you guys can learn more from him. So I always start with Perplexity Pro. This is a paid version. And I'm going to actually show in the presentation a little bit more. But what I'm highlighting here is the actual prompt. And the reason I use Perplexity with um, any kind of initial work that I'm doing is I want to find out from a great search engine that I'm just hugely in love with what I should know. So working with Ryan and his work with veterans, counseling folks suffering from PTSD and preventing suicide, as well as working on mental health support via an agent-based system, and create an app that supports each area, but also makes it much easier for law enforcement to quickly identify an active shooter or shooter using all best practices, acoustics, GPS, geolocation, and other techniques. Do it in a comprehensive search on this topic and provide deep guidance in a way this is being solved. Now, I didn't choose deep research because I've been finding Perplexity Pro probably in this case doesn't really need to use the deep research approach. So it's showing me how it got to its search criteria. It showed me some things about the architecture for the search. What I love is it also started saying there are other prompts that maybe I should use. And I said, hey, tell me about acoustics, GPS, and geolocation. I know that talking with Ryan before, that's a big deal. And also, it did mention how do you deal with this indoors? Good question. Um, and as we want to keep everyone safe, we really want to understand this integration in the application, something I'm not an expert at, but seems like an important thing to do. And it gave me some math about distance distortion, multipath, things that I am not an expert on, but apparently it makes sense. And then, of course, how can agent-based systems improve law enforcement response? Because the goal, of course, is for everybody to leave alive. So, so I took this information and looked a little bit more at sort of the agentic approach to this, because if you don't say agentic every day in generative AI, you get in trouble. Then I went over to ChatGPT 4.0, and I'm using the model O4 Mini High, and this is a prompt to say, think of a good architecture for an active shooter veterans health kind of approach, right? So I put a prompt in here. And as you go down, we did some. It actually, uh, built the site and reloaded it. Actually, I think it might have timed out on me here, but it actually put the code um, in my GitHub, told me how to run the script and do all of these things. But it was over coffee this morning. I didn't really feel like working that hard, so instead I went to probably my favorite, which is Replit, and I took the same prompt. We'll look through the prompts here and said, build me an app that, is good, essentially. And then I did change the look and feel. But when you actually look at the app, and again, these might be timed out a little bit, and I apologize if they are, but now I have a mental health app for veterans. It does crisis support, mood tracking, resource directory, sign up securely, because obviously we will need to protect data from a HIPAA point of view, track your wellness, access resources, start the journey. Um, and if you're in crisis, call 988 and press 1, the Veterans Crisis Line. And then, of course, I can go log in here. I'm going to allow it for my Replit site so I can see it. And I've got dashboards here to manage this for the end customer, for the person on the crisis line. I've got some resources I would put here, scheduling an appointment, mood tracking. By the way, pretty good first effort. I would say that's better than I would have done over a cup of coffee. Thank you, Replit. I always love to see what you do. Bolt tried to do the same thing because I gave the same information to all of the assistive tools. Bolt never made it past attempting to fix the issue that it's having with some of the code it wrote. So I'm not sure why. I'm not really feeling joyful about you know going and figuring that one out, frankly. So I use Lovable. I like Lovable. Lovable built. Uh, Lovable allows me to log in here. Um, It didn't do anything terribly interesting, so I'm not gonna show that. I don't think it moved the ball forward. I do love Devon, and Devon is my development environment that I could have used here. I just think what Devon is doing is extraordinary, and I asked Devon to create the same app, but I said I want you to do it in the way that I could use you as my development environment. By the way, that's probably a more complex topic than we want to get into right now, but yeah, I was using Devon. Uh, I went to V0. I like what V0 did right away. So it said we really have two platforms for veteran health and for active shooter. Here's the things that we're looking at, right? Security and compliance. And this really was more of a, hey, we're going to pitch this to folks that are going to fund the project. So that was interesting. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about, you've already seen that I'm a huge fan of the Google LM Notebook. So I did a search, plus I took the documents that I had created from my own work and created an audio overview with the two avatars.
Take the sources you bring us, articles, research, your notes, and we really dig in.
Yeah, we try to find those key insights.
Now I'm going to try to join into the conversation. And this is beta, so it doesn't always work. It works about half the time for me. Just Google, I love this, but I wish this worked better. Oh, well, you did say it was beta. So I did, though, do a summary here because I've got my own RAG essentially that I've created, and I can look at my mind map um, from from the data that I've generated. And if you haven't played with this is a very cool way to do presentations and also to be thinking better because this can become my data source, my set of data sources for uh, other projects. So right. So anyway, um, and then it's hard not to love Anthropic because I essentially said the same things. Give me a design. I want to spend some time. And by the way, it built me a very cool, uh, you know, kind of that veteran provider law enforcement admin. We did multi-factor inherently, just very cool stuff. But what I liked about Anthropic is I said, create an engineering best practice that's a checklist manifesto style, IBM Redbook style, AWS well architected framework style, end-to-end design for great design code, UX, UA, test, automation, code practices, documentation, scale, cost, safety, ethics. Take a breath. Every best practice designed to be delivered in a 360 experience to delight the customer and keep them coming back in a way that is sustainable, explainable to non-technical users, all built to be pre-pinned and post-pinned for any vibe coding project. By the way, if you're going to ignore everything else about this, this is the kind of thing you've got to get to. How do you templatize your engineering project? Because it's an engineering project, and if you have great design, well-architected thinking, which, by the way, oh, Anthropic, I love you. It built me engineering practices, right? Technical architecture, user stories, right? And then I said, take all of these things and put them into a single master document, right? And here's what it looks like. And We can spend a lot more time on this. We'll talk about this on our next call, Ryan. But just fundamentally, this is great. The other thing is I typically ask my dev tools is, hey, give me the top 10 things that you think might make this better. And he did, created a very cool set of architectural choices. So when I got all done with that, and really, I'm architecting the solution. I'm not writing any code. I haven't written any code yet. I put it into Gamma. I put in my design spec into Gamma, and Gamma is my favorite design tool these days for not just presentation, but if I want to build quick websites or do UX or do customer testing or whatever. So it generated this from my concepts, right? So I have user experience, excellence of operations. It gives me the system overview for my stack. It talks about the modules, talks about my personas. Very important. If you're going to be customer centric, you have to know who your customer is. Security architecture, authentication, identity, data protection and privacy, integration, mental health integration. So who else should we be talking to? Um, right. And so this just makes me dance and sing on a Saturday morning after my first two or three or maybe four cups of coffee. The other thing about this is because I'm using Perplexity throughout, I'm always making sure there's no hallucination in my data sources. Okay, that's really important. So I want to do the right thing. I did publish this link on Claude, right? And this is actually uh, I can actually go look at this right now. Actually, I'm not going to. I just looked at it, and then um, I also have in here all the prompts that I wrote. So Ryan, this should help you. By the way, this is how we get to a prototype. This is sort of an 80% solution, but it's designed to be deployable. It should cost a whole lot less, hopefully, for your nonprofit. It doesn't mean you don't still need great dev, test, program, project, UX, UA, but in a volunteer organization, people can look at these documents and they can take from it what their professional skills are. And remember, um, AI isn't going to replace people's jobs. People using AI are going to replace the jobs they used to do. So I wouldn't be able to build you a prototype active shooter app in 2 or 3 hours with these tools unless I knew what I was doing. But there still is a whole lot to be done to make this a great engineering project. Love the work you're doing. Hope this helps. Reach out, Ryan, and I'm looking forward to a chat tomorrow morning. Thanks, man. Doing good stuff. Thanks. Bye bye.